see how I did it and what I'm using to get there. So I'm playing Illumina, which is the weak point chance build. You can see when you has plus 15% base weak point damage, and during Archon Fury, just deals 1 point plus 40% weak point damage and weak point damage whenever you perform a death blow. It stacks on top of each other. This is a weak point damage build, but it's also a survivability build. My primary is this Renza, the man catcher, legendary polearm. I just really been using this polearm and liking the how it fits in with this particular build. You can see the primary function is blinds nearby enemies whenever you hit a weak point. Again, this is a weak point build, so you're going to be doing that a lot. And in the tower, the blinding aspect is underrated. It shoots out a wave in a circular function that slows down all basically enemies around you for a good 5 seconds or so and blinds them. Secondary, I'm just using Dark Star Crusher mainly for that time bubble that slows enemies by 30%. I just switch weapons. Obviously, this is under leveled and I don't really have it I'm maxed out. I don't have a new one, a level 51, so I swap to that, pop the time bubble, swap back to my primary, and keep going. Since this is a solo survivable build, I'm using this Amulet of the Betrayer, which is if your health would be reduced to 0 health, instead you remain at 1 health, becoming invulnerable for 5 seconds. Basically, this saves you, since you only have 3 deaths in the tower, this saves you a death if you're ever using it. Plus all those resistances you can see on the secondary. Plus 6 resistance twice, to all resistance twice, excuse me. Plus 12 to all resistances, which is huge. The first time I popped this was on level 42, so you may not need it for the earlier levels, but to me it just saves you having a death. And it does have a 10-minute cooldown on there, but in the tower, if you're playing solo and you're going for the level 50, you can wait out the 10 minutes if it does pop in between rounds. So that's just a survivable aspect of it. I'm using the War Talisman just for that restoring health to 141 health to you and nearby allies when you hit a weak point. Again, this is a weak point build, so you're going to be hitting weak points all the time. You're going to be restoring health all the time. Secondaries are not the best on there. Only thing I really get benefit out of there is create a chance. Obviously, one of the rings is always Embrace I'm using. Now, this is not a level 1, but again, that primary, whenever you hit a weak point, you gain 217 overhealth, and your overhealth no longer degenerates. That's huge. Gaining overhealth and preventing it from degenerating is a huge bonus, and that's worth it all day. Again, there's another plus 5 all resistances on there, and you get plus void and fire resistance, which is huge in the tower. And for the other ring, I'm using this gain of Scorpion Ring, which is the gain the blessing of power whenever you defeat a marked enemy. Marked enemies come in 3 fashions, I believe. There's Mark of Weakening, Mark of Leeching, and one other mark forgets me, but I'll show you how this works in my build later on. But we will be marking enemies, so we will be getting that gain of Blessing of Power. Blessing of Power increases your might for, I believe it's 10 seconds, but you'll be having that on basically the whole time. And obviously these secondaries will help me out with that 10% polearm damage, and weapon technique's not bad, weapon technique damage plus another 45% on there for both those. And again, since this is weak point damage build, I'm using the High Court Soul Gem. Primary function plus 128% weak point damage, with the crit hit chance plus 17% on the secondary rolls on there, and Mesa's banderole for the banner. That adds crit hit chance and crit hit damage whenever you place a banner on there. The key to this build, though, is really going to come down to augments and this marking up, getting this blessing of power and this blinding of enemies whenever you hit weak points. And for that, we'll go down to and I'll show you the augments with this. For the first one, you can see here resilience, gaining 115 overhealth whenever you soul shatter an enemy, plus weak point damage and plus weapon technique damage. The secondaries are all good. But again, the overhealth never degenerating is huge. Now this is the key augment for a lot of this build. This is White Recluse. Apply Mark of Leeching whenever you blind an enemy. The Mark of Leeching is a little green aura that'll go along enemies when you blind them. that shows that they're marked with leeching, and leeching actually gets you health back with the health you damage to those enemies. So during this build, since you'll be blinding all the enemies whenever you hit a weak point with the polearm, blind again being underrated, it's an orb, circular orb that shoots out and blinds every enemy near you. And it will, now with this augment, will also apply mark of leeching and blind them. And again, that's huge. And that mark of leeching will stay on them, so when you defeat them, you also get the power boost to any of these people who have the mark of leeching applied to them. So that's you can see how that build all works together with this augment on there. This other second one here, I have Divine Conduit. It's not necessary. It's just gain 50% Archon charge speed for 10 seconds when you hit. It's just trying to get the Archon charge speed back up. That one can be flipped out for anything, but I just have it in here. Spark. This is a key augment, and for only 5 drain, it does plus 24% weapon technique charge speed for 10 seconds whenever you hit a weak point. You can be pounding weak points all the time, so you can charging your technique back up very quickly. And the secondary is huge again, plus basically 44% weapon technique damage. So yeah, that helps out a lot too. That's a huge low cost augment. The Serenity is obviously a required augment for this build. For any weak point build, Serenity is going to be a required augment. That's whenever you hit an enemy with your Northern technique, you expose the enemy's weak point and deal 112% weak point damage next time you hit the weak point. So this one will bring the weak points up whenever you're doing your weapon technique, and you'll be doing weapon technique a lot, and this one will expose the weak points and doing a lot of damage for the next hit. Obviously, those secondaries you can see all good for this particular build. Polearm damage. I'm using polearm, and the water damage. This is a water polearm, so that's good. And damage to shield enemies. You can freeze them when you go to into Archon, so that's all good. And Rampage damage bonus is also good. So the secondaries, while they're all good, the primary is required for this build. You need that. You need Serenity augment for any basically weak point build. And let's see, the next one we're going to, hopefully it's going to pop up here pretty soon. Yeah, Mirror. Mirror is a good augment. It's another apply the mark of weakness whenever you hit the weak point. So you're going to be exposing weak points and you're going to be hitting weak points. So this is the second mark we're going to be putting on enemies. And the mark of weakness makes them do 20%, any hit they do to you, 20% less. Any hit point they do to anybody would be 20% less. So if you're playing with a group as well, this will still be functional. You hit a boss, hit a weak point, that boss is already doing less damage. And if you have the other one, you blind them, you're also have mark of leeching, you're taking life away from them as you're doing less. They're doing less damage as well. So yeah, that's a secondary mark augment, which is I think very helpful. Absorption is another good one. Again, another weak point based one. Gain 50% Archon Fury charge speed for 10 seconds whenever you hit a weak point. So you're going to be hitting weak points all the time. So this is basically speed up your Archon Fury charge by 50% basically for the whole entire time. And plus the secondaries are good on here, weak point damage and weapon technique damage. All helpful for this build. I don't know, it's only level 49, but it's leveled and it's powered up, so it's a good augment. Black Seed, it's not required. I only have that on there for the secondary damage to shield enemies, and just using the 5 points for the basic. And Paradise is my last augment on there. Pepin plus weapon technique charge speed for 10 seconds when you have critical hit. Now this is not a critical hit build, but you are going to be getting crit hits anyway, so this will just help out when you do that. And the secondaries, again, weak point damage and weapon technique damage, again, help out for damaging the weak points and getting the damage up and getting the weapon technique damage up as well. So that's my build. That you can see how it all goes together. Basically, be popping R1 on this, doing your Northern technique on your polearm a lot. It will be creating a weak point. It'll be hitting a weak point. It'll be blinding enemies near you, applying mark of weakness to that enemy that you hit the weak point on, and applying the mark of leeching while blinding all the enemies around you. It's just huge, and it freezes everybody. It allows you to handle groups of enemies by yourself because they'll all be blinded. They'll all be continuously blinded, and you'll be getting your technique back again. and you can just keep pounding away at them. And so, thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps out with some other builds.